Hello and welcome back to RageGamingVideos. My name is Hollow and today we're back with another top weapons video. This time, the highly requested Faith video. And let me tell you, you absolute monsters. Wow, Faith has a lot of weapons and a lot to test and a lot to try. Quite interestingly, it has the most options out of every stat type that I've been looking into. It's quite ridiculous how many Faith scaled weapons there are in this game, and it's also quite ridiculous that many of them are unplayable, unusable, absolutely terrible, and don't even work as their description defines them as, which is really interesting, definitely needs fixing. But despite that, there is a lot of good options all the same. And to make just 5 for this video, to choose just 5, was extremely difficult. So I want to start this video by saying a sort of disclaimer that yes, we're going to talk about some weapons that are great for Faith today, but these are not the only ones. I have more that I could talk about, so if you want to see another set of Faith videos, please like this one, let me know in the comments, and we can come back and make another. With all of that said though, I want to just let you guys know that I'm not going to be showing or looking at any weapons that are normal weapons that you have changed its affinity to be Faith scaling or holy. We're looking at unique weapons with unique Ashes of War and unique movesets. Before we properly get into it though, a quick word on melee Faith caps. These soft caps are 20, 55 and 80. Once you get beyond 80 towards 99 and reach that hard cap, you're going to see barely any value for each point. So I would recommend, you choose. Are you going to really commit to Faith and go for that 80 soft cap? Or is your weapon a strength-based weapon? So you're going to hit the soft caps for that instead and maybe go for 55 Faith. But let's get into it. Let's start strong then with one of my favorite weapons since discovering it, since interacting with it, since the boss fight itself. This is MARIKA'S hammer. I'm a huge fan of the design, and I'm even bigger fan of this Ash of War, the Slam, which is a huge AoE and really good damage. The weapon itself is solid, dude. It scales really well with a B rating of strength and a C rating with Faith, and has a general hammer moveset where you're doing your wider swings with the light attacks and then more slams with the heavy attacks. The thing about it is, I would never run one of these smaller hammers one-handed. I would much rather power stance. You could use it with a shield if you really are inclined to do so. But yeah, me, power stance with the hammers all the way. This is a long 6, 7, 8 hit combo. And because these are hammers, remember, these are going to go straight through guards. People who are blocking, you're going to crunch straight through those shields. For a single target, you have those long combos, or the brilliant jumping L1, which, as you can see, is an instant poise break on your regular enemy. Take this guy. Let's do a heavy attack. Instant poise break. The blunt weapons like these types of hammers are super good for that type of thing. Let's see if this guy will actually block me. So I'm not bouncing off him at all, and I'm just breaking through his guard, breaking through his posture super quick. The weapon itself has a really solid AR. We're talking a one-handed weapon, remember? 702 AR on this thing, which of course is going to do more damage if you're fighting enemies that are weak to holy damage or faith magic. I think it's hard to find a more satisfying Ash of War for AoE. Once you're going, you can be uninterrupted, but it's like now, once you're in the air, you can't be interrupted. You get that hyper armor, and then the slam, dude. It just feels so good and it looks so good. Definitely one of my favorite Ashes of War in the game, hands down. In PvP, that slam is absolutely outrageous. Once you get up in the air and get that hyper armor, you're going to come crashing down at a really hard to predict manner. The timing on it. You can see that it does catch people, and the damage it does is very legit. The problem is, while you're hanging in the air, you are vulnerable. You are going to get bursted if someone is aware of what you're doing, so you have to do it at the right time. The base moveset, though, very good for breaking through poise. If not great shields, apparently, we need bigger hammers. Meanwhile, when it comes to boss fights, just like we're seeing with basic enemies, your jumping attacks, your running L1s, any charged R2s, or the long L1 combos. These are going to break through poise and posture of these bosses and stagger them, as well as doing really reliable damage. In general, I think the smaller hammers are a bit slept on, and I think they're very, very fun to use. To get MARIKA'S hammer, though, you will need to have defeated the final boss of the main story and use the boss soul to get the boss weapon. Next up, then, we have an iconic weapon. This is, of course, MALIKETH'S Black Blade, a colossal sword with really good scaling considering you're dealing with both strength and faith. At a B strength scaling and a B faith scaling, this is really good. I mean, to begin with, you've got a colossal sword, so you have that iconic, classic, Colossal Sword moveset. Great for cleaving your enemies, great for staggering them, and of course when you're doing things like jumping plunges with big weapons like this, you're going to poise break. And yeah, Colossal Swords, my god, I love the poke so much. It's so good in PvE for getting out good damage quickly, interrupting enemies, or yeah, catching people out in PvP. Now it does that mix of holy damage, right, with the faith scaling, but what we really care about is Destined Death, the Ash of War, the iconic attack of Maliketh. The spin, the slam, and the explosion, which hits multiple times on an enemy. Let's give it a spin against a giant, for example. So what you can see is it's going to hit on the swing, on the stomp, and then the explosion. It's a triple part attack that deals some serious damage. The obvious downside then is the ridiculous FP cost of 30. So, I mean, you know, if you're running a faith build, you're running some spells, you're going to want some levels in mind, unlike me right now, who should have really thought about that for this testing. But all the same, you got the hit, you got the slam, you got the explosion. That's always going to look and feel good. And if you want to do like a Dark Knight sort of build, this weapon is going to be perfect for that. When it comes to AR, man, this is serious business. 968. And I've only got 60 strength right now. You could go for more than that. When it comes to bosses, though, you can see the special effect of the Destined Death Ash of War. It's going to deal damage over time to an enemy based on the percent of health. So the more health it has, the more damage that's going to do. And hey, this enemy is also an undead, so my holy damage is doing even more. The Ash of War itself on those swings does great damage and can even poise break. So if you get a stagger or you can pull it off in time, it's some serious damage. Now when it comes to PvP, this is a Colossal Sword, right? So you've got slow swings. You want to try to poise trade with enemies. You want to get those quick pokes, ideally if you can. And if you can catch someone out with your big Ash of War, it's going to kill them. Unfortunately for me here, though, we have 2 Rivers of Blood gankers, and I still get the host. I still get him, but I do die in the process. Super satisfying to land that Ash of War, though. Now, unfortunately, to get this weapon, it's pretty late game. Maliketh's blade, well, it comes from Maliketh, who will be found here, Farum Azula, in its final boss area, the last thing you do in this location. It's also part of the main story, so it's pretty damn hard to miss, so hopefully you can get your hands on this without too much issue. Next up then, the Blasphemous Blade. This is, frankly, the most meta option we have in this video. If you're looking for the strongest faith weapon, I honestly think this is it. It comes with quite a lot of perks. As a physical fire weapon instead of a physical holy weapon, this is going to be great for your faith pyromancy build, whether you're going madness for PvP or true pyromancy for fire damage. To get straight to the point, this thing has 809 AR as a one-handed greatsword. It scales well at a C, strength, and dex, meaning I can kind of go a quality build with my strength and dex together, and then a B with your faith. As far as it goes, it has your standard greatsword moveset, but it has the unique effect of giving you health back when you kill an enemy. In combination with its incredible Ash of War, oh, you can get some health back quick. And you can AoE down enemies from downtown. See that guy over there? See that guy over there? What guy over there? When in two-hand, we go up to 846 AR, but honestly, the reason I mentioned the one-handed more than that is because I think you should be one-handing this weapon, whether you're running a shield or maybe another greatsword and power stancing greatswords, which have a great moveset and is extremely satisfying to run. In PvP, what I love to do with the Ash of War is snipe people. Instead of actually locking onto them, I try to land it to their left or right, and they end up rolling or just running straight into it, and it does insane damage. It's a bit of a vigor check as well. If they don't have 60 vigor, this thing could kill them. So yeah, I would say the power of this weapon and why it's just so solid and I would argue meta is because of that passive effect, the heal you get from the kills. And then obviously the Ash of War itself is ludicrous, whether we're talking PvE or PvP. If you do want to get this blade yourself, it is a boss soul weapon, so you need to make your way to the Volcano Manor and defeat the main boss there, and then use that boss soul to get yourself this boss weapon. Now it's time to talk more PvP focused build. VYKE'S War Spear is an incredible madness build-up weapon, of which there are very few in the game right now. So if you're running a madness build, this is just gonna be one of your weapons to consider. Now, of course, Madness is a faith-based build, but you actually do not need that much faith to run it. If you reach for something like 33 here for Howl of Shibiri, you can run all of your necessary incantations for Madness. You get nice Madness build-up with, say, the VYKE'S War Spear, and that leaves you more points to work on other things, like maybe running Dex, because this scales at a B rating with Dex. Its base AR is a solid 749 after all, but for me, god damn is this Ash of War incredible. The downside when you use it, obviously, is the Madness build-up. So running an armor set that gives you some reasonable immunity is going to be a good idea when you're doing a Madness build, especially when you're casting the incantations that are, also going to do Madness build-up. The moveset is quite generic spear, I'm afraid. It's very thrusting and center focused, a 4-hit combo there, or we can do the R2 and do a little bit of spinning for some AoE. For me, the best attack that a spear has is the running R2, and as you can see, we have it. That's going to catch people who are running and trying to heal or roll away from you. It's great for roll catching. In fact, I'm really into the Madness playstyle, and I'm working on my own Madness build, and I really like the idea of running this pike and maybe even Blasphemous Blade at the same time. So why I say this is a PvP build rather than a PvE build is because sadly Madness does not work against most bosses, or at least a good amount of them. God, I love that AoE. That Ash of War is nuts. So yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to get the Madness proc on bosses, which does damage and also stuns them. That works on players in PvP and humanoid enemies like the tarnished enemies we're facing here. So while Madness feels great in PvP, it is certainly nowhere near as effective in general PvE. So in PvP, there's a couple cool things about this, right? So for example, the spear itself, just having a spear moveset, you've got those running R1s or even R2s for the charges, and that's so good for roll catching. The Ash of War, though, that's what's specifically special about this weapon. If you don't lock onto an enemy and free aim it to their right or left, just like the Blasphemous Blade, what you can do is just catch people out. They'll run right into it, they'll roll straight into it, and the range of it is huge. So when I'm dealing with a gank like this, I'm able to kind of create a safe space using my own Ash of War to then heal up in or catch people out, which is, yeah, really nice. Also, God, is it nice when a mini-boss comes and saves the day at the last possible second. But yeah, man, dealing with gankers at low level difficult because I have no poise. These people are just like 3 comboing me and there's nothing I can do. I can't roll out of it. So yeah, definitely need to complete this build, but you can see the power of the VYKE Spear is there and it's very fun to use. I would actually really like to dual wield it, so if I could do like another playthrough or drop myself one for another character, that's probably something I'll try do. To get VYKE'S War Spear then, you're going to need to defeat VYKE by coming here to the Church of Inhibition, which is at the northeastern point of the lakes. Just before the actual gate or lift itself, you're going to have to come around there and go up past the Frenzy Flaming Tower. Make your way up and around there through the Frenzy Flame Village, and you'll make your way up to this top area where, as you're approaching the Church of Inhibition, VYKE will invade you, and you need to defeat him. Once you kill him, you will get his War Spear. For our last weapon then, I want to talk about whips, and one whip in particular. This is the Giant's Red Braid, which comes from, yes, the red giant that you fight here in the Mountaintops of the Giants. It is an incredible whip because it is a strength whip. The fact that it is so, I guess, thick, made of giant's hair, maybe that's why it's a strength whip, which is quite interesting. But of course, it also scales with faith, and they scale really well at a B rating of strength and a B rating of faith. This is shockingly good. Now, this is of course a fire-based whip, so it's got your fire damage as well as your physical damage, giving it a really respectable 600 AR with my current stats. Now, whips as a whole throughout the Soul series have not been that strong, but finally, in Elden Ring, I think they're more relevant and viable. So this is why I picked it for my wildcard option, because whips, I love them, and I want more people to use them. You've got great range, simple combos, effective to use, and honestly, I mean, I don't know who wouldn't, but you can obviously power stance them, meaning we go from these nice R1s to these incredible L1s where you're getting 2 hits off every single swing. And again, this range that you're doing the attacks at is nuts. I love particularly that jumping L1. That's so good. So not only does it look cool, not only does it feel good, but yes, the numbers are good. And a weapon like this, specifically the Giant's Red Braid, well, this comes with the Flame Dance, which is the best L2 I've seen from the whips that we currently have. I absolutely love this thing. It's a huge AoE around you, a big spin. multiple hits, and of course that fire damage. So where whips are strong is at that medium range. People seem to regularly, at least in my experience, get caught out by the sheer consistent range of the whip. If you're doing the running L1, for example, when you're power sensing, that really catches people panic rolling, and obviously when you're initiating the fight, it's really nice. Obviously the L2, it has a long animation. In PvP, you can catch people out with that. They don't expect it to continue for some reason, but it is a long animation that you get committed to, so you're going to be very careful if you are going to use that. And while whips are certainly not the meta pick, they are a really, really fun wildcard pick, and I really recommend you give them a try if you want. It's nice to have a cool faith strength option in this way. I love the fact that I'm using a fire giant's hair as whips. It's just funny. Meanwhile, in PvE, that range is obviously really useful in a boss fight or against any general enemies. You can really outplay them from their max distance, or your max distance, I suppose, and just hit them, you know? When you're hitting a guy with a shield, you're not going to bounce because it's not that type of attack or weapon. With the L2, you can have a boss walk into your fire AoE and just burn through their health. The running L1 and the jumping L1 are particularly really good, and I cannot stress enough, I really think whips are very fun to use, and so I hope you give them a try, whether it's these or different ones, because they're just really, really cool. That has been my look at some faith weapons that I think you should heavily consider, whether they are meta, ridiculously strong, powerful weapons, or just really fun and very unique. The thing is though, this is not all of them. I have a whole other chunk of them from a list of powerful weapons. So if you'd like to see that, please let me know. These are just some of my first favorites to look at. Also, I do want to mention as well, this weapon, the Cypher Patter, as well as the other Cypher Straight Sword type, as an incredible option for Faith users as a secondary weapon. The thing about these is they weigh nothing, and neither does the other one. They scale really well with Faith, so what you can do is swap to these suddenly in the middle of a fight, and then completely change up your moveset. Maybe going to this dual-wielded Patter, which is going to be much faster, or the Straight Sword. What really matters is you're going to change up your moveset, and it's unblockable. So if you're dealing with someone hiding behind a shield, this could be a really good option. But that is everything for my Faith Weapons video today. If you've enjoyed the video, found it interesting, please drop a like so we can keep making more videos. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.